are lucky enough today to be spending 22 minutes with the one and only Terry Crews. Yeah!
Yeah. What's up? What's up? Okay.
I didn't even have to ask you to do it. I love
It's the part of my contract.
That's awesome.
I have to put that in there.
Every appearance.
Every
you
appearance is gonna do that. Look, you know what? I gotta do it while I still can. You know.
I think you'll be able to do it for a few more years. You are here to talk about Ultimate Beastmaster. This is Netflix's first competition show, right?
Yes.
Exciting.
I have been privileged and honored to be on, many of Netflix's first forays into anything. I was on Arrested Development, which was their first TV show that they produced. Yep. Then I did Ridiculous 6, which was the first movie that they produced. Right. Now I'm hosting the first reality series that they are producing. Right. And it's kind of cool. I'm in Netflix's wheelhouse. I like it. Like, call me whatever y'all do.
And it's an international wheelhouse. I mean, you have competitors from, how many
it's
12 competitors?
108 competitors, 6 different countries.
Okay.
And a huge obstacle course that you will not believe. And it's kind of like a mini Olympics. It's South Korea, Germany, Brazil, Japan, Mexico, and the U.S.
And this is going to be broadcast in all of these different countries so they can root for their home person, sort of?
All simultaneously put out this Friday. The whole series going to be placed on Netflix, and me and Carissa Thompson host the U.S. version, whereas they have different hosts and commentators for each country. So it's the same show, but done for and tailored for their culture and community.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, 10 episodes, right?
Yes.
And so, the way people watch Netflix, they binge, right? They're going to watch the whole thing. But so you know then already who the winner is for the competition.
They will know. Like Friday night, someone's going to binge it all and spill the beans.
Right. How do you keep them from spilling the beans in this day and age? You hope that they don't tweet it.
Well, you just don't. It's one of those things where it's almost respectful. I mean, when someone knows the end of a show already, not to say, it's almost now, it's part of our culture, is that we don't, you don't give the spoiler away. Every article has spoiler alert.
Right. So, we do that on air in the morning. If you don't want to know the ending of leave the room for a couple of minutes or whatever, we do that. The other interesting thing about this is co-produced, if I'm not mistaken, by Sylvester Stallone, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's executive produced by him.
Executive produced.
Sly has been my dad in this business. It's funny because I had done a lot of comedies, and he's the guy who's like, I'm going to turn you into an action star. I'm going to make you an action star.
With the Expendables.
Exactly. He put me into the Expendables. We did 3 of those consecutively. It was awesome. And he's just always been in my corner. It's so wild. I got a funny story about that too, which is so great. When I was doing the first Expendables, there was a time. It's funny because you think you've learned your lesson. You think, I was like, I'm not entitled. I know you have to work hard and you have to do the good things, and good things happen to you. But somewhere in there, I got an ego. Okay?
Really?
Yeah, well, you're around some of the biggest egos in the world. It's the Expendables, okay? So...
And the biggest guys.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's like, where you working out? I'm like, I'm working out over here, so you don't see my workout, And so, but what was happening was, I remember going on set, and I basically was a little angry that I wasn't being used more. Like, there were scenes that were set up for other stars and the whole thing, and there was a weird little thing where I kind of got entitled. And I got angry. And I remember being in my hotel room thinking, like, I need to be doing more, and somehow they're not using me enough.
Dolph was getting more lines.
Exactly. Jason gets the knife scene. I wanted the knife scene. Why didn't I get a knife scene? I can use a knife. You start thinking all this crazy stuff, and your mind starts spinning. And all of a sudden, I literally have a bad attitude. I remember going to work, and Sly would be like, okay, we need you over here doing this. And I was like, yeah, whatever, And I remember feeling that way. Now, he didn't pick it up. But I remember sitting in my room, and I was like, you know what? I'm becoming cynical. This is turning my experience into a horrible, horrible time. What am I going to do about this? And I said, I have to change it. And I remember I said, I have to decide I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to, whatever is given to me, I have to make the most out of it.
Right.
And because I remember just not liking the way I was feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the minute I did that, it was so strange. Sly started giving me more lines. He started taking me behind the camera and saying, hey, this is how you do a scene. This is what's going on. And he was just showing me, he said, you know what? It was wild when my wife visited the set and she was like, Sly came up to me and said, and he's rewriting the script, so you change his life, or you save his life. And I'm going, what? And it's so wild because it turned out, it started off so bad and ended up so good.
Yeah.
It taught me a lesson forever, that it was all in how I saw it and how I attacked it. And let me tell you something. For one, Sly basically taught me how to change and reframe my attitude, my life, to whatever I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I never forgot that lesson. When I look at this show, I mean, for him to give me an opportunity to host an amazing show like this with worldwide exposure, which is extremely rare. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, sometimes you're a star in America. I mean, you look at the NFL football doesn't even go all over the world. This is a show that's played everywhere, all over the world. It's funny, I would go into the booth of Japan or the booth of Brazil, and instantly I'm in front of hundreds of millions of people over there. And I said, I will forever, ever thank Stallone for giving me that kind of opportunity. I know I went long, but I'm trying to tell you, it's so important to say.
It's a good story, and it's a surprising story because I've heard you describe yourself as unembarrassable. Like, you're the guy, you're like, no, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And
I'll
then,
do
you know,
it.
and when you Google, you probably don't Google yourself, but if you Google
Yeah,
Terry
I
Crews,
do.
you do? Okay.
Yes.
All the stuff comes up on YouTube, like in the White Chicks movie,
Yes.
1,000 Miles.
Yes.
I mean, come on, you know, and not to mention, but to mention the Old Spice commercials.
Yes.
I mean, was there ever anything in particular in the Old Spice commercials where you were like, you know what, that's just too weird. I'm not doing that.
Never, never. In fact, I push the envelope every time. You know, it's funny because the ad agency themselves, they'll be like, hey, wait, we can't do that.
Yeah,
You
that's
trusted that they were a couple times, they were like, Terry, no. You know, and I was like, okay, you sure? No, we don't need that. That's a little too far. But the whole relationship between me and Old Spice is one of love, which was nuts because we actually, the first time we shot those commercials, we shot 3 more while we were that day that we hadn't even planned. Because the relationship was going so well, and they were like, oh my, I'll never forget the first time when we were doing the scene, and then I just started doing it. And they were like, wait a minute, we gotta put that in there, you know. And
can you do that again?
yeah, when I do that, can you do that one more time? Well, the directors were so cool. There were 2 guys named Tim and Eric who were really famous for their comedy all over the world.
Adult Swim?
Tim and Eric, they were absolutely amazing talents. And they had this quirky way of doing everything, but this is the first time people would watch the commercials as entertainment. They would sit and watch a half hour of commercials knowing they were ads. But they were like, I am enjoying this. I love this weird, quirky world.
They're mesmerizing.
Yeah, you can't.
They are mesmerizing.
It's like, I don't know what I'm seeing, but I can't look away.
Exactly. Back to Beastmaster for a second. So you have all these competitors, and I've also heard you say that they're not the people who you think would make it. They're not necessarily the star athletes. They're just people who are, I don't know, what is the common denominator in the competiters?
Let me
just
tell you
grit?
something. It redefines athleticism.
Yeah.
Because in athleticism, you have an eye. You've been kind of like, what is it, movied. You know, I don't know what to say. The movie, the media, they kind of put this like this gigantic guy. He's gonna do everything. He's gonna do all these flips. He's gonna do all this running, all that. But you know what? The thing is, he can't do that. And what we found, the big giant football players who were supposed to come kill it couldn't even make it through the first round, which was nuts. Yeah. And when we saw the women, the smaller guys, the guys who could, the martial artists, they could handle all of the things, the jumping, the leaping, the athleticism.
The dexterity that you would need, right?
Because you need a balance. I mean, it's not about, yeah, I can lift 400 pounds, but now you need to jump far. Now, how do you handle that?
Yeah.
And that it changed the definition of athleticism for a lot of people. And you have to have the endurance to last all the way through the end. I mean, anybody can do one great, event or one great machine or one great thing, but how about doing a course of different obstacles, which blew everybody away? One of the producers of this show is Dave Broom, who also produced The Biggest Loser. So he knows a lot about exercise. He knows a lot about being in shape. And and Sly really, really wanted to get across how wonderful athleticism really is. Just being the biggest and strongest kind of guy doesn't necessarily mean you're the best.
Yeah, this is more like a cinematic, safe to say,
Definitely,
way of shooting this, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, because there's a beast. It's literally, the actual obstacle course is fashioned like a beast. There's a mouth, you have to crawl up the throat, and there's a game called Throat Erosion where you have to survive, and then you have to leap into his spine, and then you go through, I mean, you have to make it all the way through, the full thing, the full obstacle course is actually representative of different parts of this beast. It's crazy.
That is crazy. And do they get anything?
Well, they get $10,000, and it's really, I have to say too, it's really, all these people, they didn't really show up for the money.
Not for the money.
It wasn't.
And not to be a movie star.
Yeah,
Well,
they want to be a movie star. They definitely want that. but to see these athletes and where they came from, like you had guys who literally didn't have a TV, didn't have anything, but have been hanging by their fingernails by walls and doing parkour since they were 4 years old, jumping from place to place. And you're like, there were things we thought, I remember sitting there like, no one's gonna be able to do this. And they did it. And I was like, oh my God, it really took me to a whole nother level of what the human body is capable of.
Is there a guy who does not have sight in one eye?
He was blind in one eye. And
while he's doing don't you need depth perception to make it to the next?
You would think.
He could.
There was another guy who had synesthesia, and he had a horrible car accident. And what was happening is, the way he saw, he would walk, I remember he got a chance to look at the beast, and he played it out in his mind. And let me tell you, he did everything he wanted to do because that's the way his synesthesia worked for him. It's so
amazing.
When I say it's absolutely incredible what people can do, it's beyond belief. And one thing I love is the fact that this is a worldwide thing, what I mean? Because you get to see the stories of the athletes. You get to see where they come from. Some of them come from poverty. Some of them come from athletic backgrounds. Some of them come from less than genuine, great situations. And to see them get there and overcome, I mean, the ladies were incredible. I mean, it was so, because you started to think like, wait a minute, women are athletes too. Right. So it was an amazing thing. It wasn't just a guy fest.
Yeah. We can also see you continuing on television in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes.
Season 4.
Season 4.
Yeah.
Season 4.
So are you Terry and Terry, same guy?
Yeah, it's the same guy. You know what? When I remember meeting, with Dan Gore and Mike Shore, the creators of the show, and I actually was debating about whether I was going to do it or not. Back then, it was the untitled Andy Samberg project,
Okay.
And so I was like, there were a couple other things. And Dan and Mike called me up and they said, Terry, guess what? We called the character that we want you to play, we called him Terry. So if you don't do it, you're really going to feel really weird with somebody else walking around with your name. I was like, damn you. How could you do this to me? I'll take it. I'm in. I mean, it was absolutely genius. But they really, really based it on me. I like to call myself a unicorn in this business because a lot of times people don't know I exist until you see me. It's kind of weird. It's not like, when people saw white chicks, they were like, hey, what? I've never saw that before. I've done a lot of things that people go, oh, that's great. Wait a minute. And what's so cool is that this is the first time I've ever had a character basically, built around who I am.
Right.
I never had that before. I kind of had to fit into different things and squeeze my personality and other stuff. But this one is probably the closest to me than any other character I've played.
I saw an episode last night, The Fugitive, where they just have this quick flash of you. You're complaining about, I don't have any time to do my art anymore. And they cut to it. And in reading about you, I'm like,
Yes.
well, that is him.
That's me.
That's him, because you actually went to school on an art scholarship?
Yes, I actually attended Interlochen Arts Academy when I was in my senior year in high school, and then I got an art scholarship to attend Western Michigan University, and then I walked on to the football team, so it would pay the rest of my, my school, because it was only a partial, like it was literally just $500.
Yeah.
But my art talent has been kind of like my key to getting out of Flint, Michigan. It was like, as far as I can remember, I could draw, I could paint. It was a respite. It was kind of like I kind of fall into my own little world with just painting and drawing, and I still do that. And it's funny, they heard about that and put it into the character on the show. It's crazy.
I love that. I thought that was the greatest thing. And I've read that you've also, when you were playing, you had, what, 7 years in the NFL?
Yes.
And
yes.
you did some sketching
Yep.
to make some extra coin, or did you just do it as a favor to the guys, like, hey,
Oh, no,
one of the other
that was
players,
all about the money. It was all about the money. Let me tell you something. I will go in, because I get cut. See, I played 7 years, but I was literally only on 3 teams, because I would play for the Rams, get cut, get picked up, went to camp with the Packers, then get cut, signed by the Chargers, and then play a whole year, and then get cut. So you're talking about a very sporadic employment schedule. So in between, I would go into the locker room to the guys and say, hey, man, you're one of the best players I've ever seen. Wouldn't you like to have your portrait all over in your mantelpiece? And the football players would be like, yeah, that'd be cool. I really like that. And I was like, okay, look at it. You know what? It only cost you about $5,000. They're like, yeah, I'll tell you. You know what? I'll write the check. And that's how I survived.
Yeah,
I survived like that because, again, football players and their egos go right together. You can just be like, you're so amazing. They're like,
Are you glad you got out when you did? I mean, now anytime we do a football story, it's always concussions and injuries.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it just seems to be a lot of negative stories about the NFL out there. Now, are you glad you got out when you did?
You know what? First of all, you can go on the internet right now and see me get knocked out on Monday Night Football. If you type in Terry Crews gets knocked out on Monday Night Football,
That's like the
it's
one
right
thing
there.
I didn't Google, but okay.
No, but again, I Google myself all the time, so don't worry about it. I got you covered. I'm like, oh, let me see it again. I can watch myself get knocked out right now, and it's kind of wild because people are like, well, why aren't you going to get some of the settlement? I was like, because that would make me a victim. I am not a victim. I feel like, for me, it didn't hurt me because I chose for it. I did not want it to. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where, I never wanted the NFL to feel like they had one up on me. Because a lot of times, they treat you like property. I mean, you come in, you're a number, keep your helmet on, you're not allowed to take your helmet off. You try to find Indian individuals, whatever, and they're like, and they try to put you down. But then when I started going around as an actor, and I would go around to different places all over the world, they didn't care about the NFL. And the NFL was the biggest thing in my life. And let me tell you, when I got cut, I was crushed. When I say crushed, they treat you like, sorry, too bad, bye. Yeah. And you're left with nothing. There was one time I was on the Redskins, and they said I made the team. They told me I made the team. I signed my kids up for school that day, and the next day they cut me. And I was like, but why didn't you tell me you were... Sorry. And you're just property. You're just whatever. And when the NFL got rid of me, they thought they would never see me again. And guess what? I'm here. But I help people all the time deal with this transition because this is kind of a world that plays on your masculinity. They play on, I remember when they wouldn't let us have water. I played on the team. When I was a rookie, I remember they were like, I was like, I sure would like some water. They're like, you're soft. Get back here and nobody gets water. Then people started dying, literally. And they were like, maybe we should give them water.
Let's rethink that
Now listen,
water thing.
you would think it would be, you would think a glass of water would be something that they would automatically have. But that culture, the culture of masculinity, plays on the fact that you're weak if you show any sign of anything that looks like you're somewhat weak.
Yeah.
And that's the culture I want to break. That's the culture I want to smash. And so that guys can say, I don't feel good. I don't really feel right now. And mean it without having everybody go, oh, look at him. He's like, you're a little girl out here. Look, what is this guy?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that stuff hurts people.
Right.
It hurts a lot of people. Now, I love football. I love football. But not at the expense of people's lives, not at the expense of women. I mean, I've been in colleges, you know, you're in college, and they would tell a guy rapes a girl, and they tell the girl to leave. And what's so nuts is the girl has to go, but the star football player stays on. And I'm like, that's a human being. What are we talking about here? It's kind of a culture that you have to ask, what's really happening? Like, can we stop for a minute and recognize these are real people? And that's the thing with the CTE and the concussion stuff, because people are starting to see, I think even in the ratings, it started to affect people because they're like, wait a minute, when you see a guy get knocked out, you know that's going to stay with him forever,
right,
if he lets it. And I truly believe I said no. By me acting and learning lines and trying new things, you start to stimulate those brain cells so that the CTE or anything, any long-term effects don't affect you in the long haul. Right. But a lot of players don't have it, and they just kind of go, I'm done. I'm a football player. That's it, and my head hurts right now. And it's just not good. And I want to kind of change that culture. I'm sorry, I got on the train.
No, I'm sitting here thinking, I have like another 22 minutes of questions here. I absolutely do.
I interviewed myself. Thank you very much, everyone.
I wish we had more time.
Did she ask a question? I don't think I heard a question.
I got plenty of questions about it, but I have plenty more.
And another thing.
Once again, Ultimate Beastmaster,
Yes.
10 episodes on the amazing Netflix.
Yes.
Along with all the other A-listers who are now on Netflix. Terry Crews, what an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.